Hi everyone, it's Miss Richmond. I hope you all are doing well and you are healthy and staying away from all things that will make you sick. This is the way we will be doing our lectures from here on out. I am going to do the abbreviated version. There is no notes for you to fill out. The expectation is that you are going to watch and jot down things as we're going through the PowerPoint. There will be a quiz at the end of every PowerPoint. But the good thing is you have the video to go back and watch. You also have the PowerPoint at your disposal to go back and look through to help find answers. But we need to make sure that we are watching videos. We are going through, we're learning the things that are in the video and that we are taking those quizzes. Today we're going to pick up right where we left off, way before our extended spring break. That is with the causes of World War I. World War I was known as the war to end all wars because people thought, hey, this war is so big and so destructive and so deadly. Obviously, we're going to learn from this and never do it again. But they were sadly mistaken when 20 years later, the same thing's going to happen. So we have our causes of World War I. They equal main. We're going to refer to them as the main causes of World War I. They're called the main causes because militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism, the first letters of all of those words spells main. Militarism is this building up of your military, so you have the strongest, biggest military so that nobody can fight you. Alliances, we talked about before the break. This is where you're making friendships with other countries. I've got your back, you've got mine. If I fight, you fight. Imperialism was the European countries going in everywhere across the globe. America, Africa, Asia, Australia, and taking things that didn't belong to them. So they were calling people uncivilized. They're going in, they're taking all those resources. They're enslaving people. They're murdering people. We talked about the Congo genocide where the Belgians went in and murdered millions and millions of Africans in a very short time frame. And then we also have this buildup of nationalism that's taking place across Europe, specifically in Italy and Germany, where they're believing that their customs, their values, their everything is better than anyone else's. And if other people disagree, then they need to be eliminated so that their culture can reign supreme. So now we're going to break down each of these components a little bit further. The first one is militarism. It is our M. Europe was having an arms race. That means they're building newer, bigger, more terrifying weapons as quickly as possible. Arms race doesn't mean like they're racing with their arms attached to their body. Arms in this sense are weapons. We're building up those guns. We're building up tanks. We're building up the biggest weapons we can so that we can take out as many people as possible in the quickest amount of time. This was all made possible because of that Industrial Revolution that we talked about months ago. We have factories now, so we can build all the parts very quickly. We're very good at assembling things, and it helps create large quantities in a very short amount of time. The military is calling for these weapons to be built. The government is in on it. They think it's a great idea. And the military solution to all of the diplomatic, so just like issues between governments and political problems, they often propose the use of these very large weapons. Then we have militarism in Germany. It's on steroids. It's so much bigger than everywhere else. Germany was the most militaristic country in the beginning of the 20th century. The old Prussian rulers, the Junkers that we talked about months ago, were developing incredibly rigorous training exercises before it became a unified Germany. They're going to build up this army, and it's centered around those Prussian soldiers. Those Prussian soldiers then can train the new German army recruits to practice those same militaristic style of fighting. They're also going to be enhancing their forms of communication at this time, which is incredibly important if you plan to go to war. If you can't communicate with the other people on your side, you don't know where they are, you don't know who you're shooting at, you need to make sure you can talk to those people you're fighting with. And at this point, the Kaiser, that person who is in charge of Germany, was also the supreme commander of the army. So the Kaiser put himself in charge of all things military as well as governmental, which could cause problems if your Kaiser is ready to take over the world. It's a natural thing for militaries to want to be bigger, faster, stronger, have the best weapons, but it's another thing to continuously act upon that and keep making those militaries big, fast, huge, and incredibly deadly. We didn't only get more dangerous weapons, we also developed this brand new style of warfare that had never been used before, and that was trench warfare. Trench warfare, you dig a hole in the ground. It's basically a series of tunnels. They're about 5 feet tall, 10 feet wide, and it allows the men to move back and forward. They're not walking at ground level, so you bend over and you walk. You can get places without being shot. It allows you to conduct everyday business. Both sides that are fighting are going to have a trench. And in between those two trenches, which is about the length of a football field usually, there was a place called No Man's Land where they would put landmines and barbed wire, and it kept people from leaving those trenches because now you have guns there ready to fight you, to shoot at you, but also you have to get through this obstacle course while being fired at to get to the opponent. They've developed machine guns at this point. They're a lot lighter than the old guns. They're more deadly. They can shoot 600 rounds per minute. So 600 rounds per minute, you don't have to be a very good marksman, meaning you don't have to be accurate. If you only have 4 or 5 shots that you can fire off in a minute, you need to make those 4 or 5 shots count when the enemy is running at you. But if you have 600 rounds per minute, you just have to shoot and you're going to hit someone. So it makes things more deadly because we don't need good marksmen anymore. We just need somebody to hold the gun and push the button. They're also going to start using poisonous gases. Those poisonous gases can be thrown over into the trench of the enemy. It can either disable them so that you can go over there and finish the job, or it will just kill them because it poisons them. It eats away at their face. It causes a lot of issues. The trench warfare is seen in Wonder Woman. I will post a link in the teams for you to go and watch about a 4-minute clip on trench warfare so you fully understand what it is. We also have the battle on the sea kicking up. We've built bigger, larger battleships that have more weapons on them so that we can fight people on the oceans and the seas around Europe and not just on the land. This link will be in the PowerPoint and posted on the teams as well. Our second cause of World War I are alliances. Again, this is, I've got your back, you've got mine. They are formal agreements. They can be for political, military, or economic reasons. 2 or more nations need to sign it. They're considered to be binding by national or international law, but oftentimes they're broken, and there's not a lot that happens to people when they break them. Alliances can shift based off of the politics of the day. I can form an alliance with 3 people, and a couple years down the road, I can decide that one of those people does have my back, and the other person we're pretty afraid is going to come for us. So we may form a smaller alliance against that one person. So we're going to go over some alliances super fast. There's a whole lot of them leading up to World War I. The first one is going to be the Treaty of London in 1839. It's between England and Prussia, before Germany, to defend each other against Belgium. They're concerned that Belgium's going to, take over. In 1873, we have the Three Emperors League, which is going to form between Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Russia. They're hoping that the 3 of them can get together and they can balance out the power in Europe because they feel like the other countries have too much power and they don't have enough. But 6 years later, Germany and Austria-Hungary pledged that they are going to support each other if Russia attacks them. So it takes 6 years after the Three Emperors League for Russia to do something that causes the Germans and the Austrian Hungarians to feel that they can't trust Russia anymore. Again, this is one of those sneaky alliances. They're not going straight out and saying like, hey, Russia, we're not friends with you anymore. But they are doing it behind their back. It's kind of a check. If Russia does something to you, I've got you. If they do something to me, make sure you got me. But if somebody else attacks us, we're going to let Russia fight for us too. 3 years later, the Germans and the Austrian Hungarians are going to bring in Italy into their alliance. But this time it's not so much about Russia, it's all about the French. You got Napoleon III going around, starting wars, causing problems. And Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Italy are like, we need to band together and defend against the French. The French and the Russians are going to get together in 1894. They're going to sign the Franco-Russian alliance. And this whole friendship is going to be because they feel like Germany has gotten too big for their britches. They have too much power. They feel like they're super important, and they just want to make sure that they can check him when he gets a little out of control. The Entente Cordiale is in 1904, so we've entered the 20th century, and it's just a friendly agreement between Britain and France. It's not military. It's just a, hey, I'm not going to fight you anymore. Please don't fight me. Because if we remember from everything we've learned this year, Britain and France are always at war with one another. It gets started back before the 9th century. We've got war happening between Britain and France pretty much the entire time we've been talking about in our course this year. Here's a couple more alliances because there's so many. In 1907, we're going to have the Anglo-Russian Entente, which is Anglo meaning British, Anglo-Saxons, and the Russians. They're going to resolve a conflict over some colonial possessions through imperialism in the Middle East and Asia. It's not militaristic in nature, but it is a, hey, let's stop fighting. We just figured this out. So we're cool now. In 1907, we're going to have the Triple Entente, which is going to take all the other ententes that have happened and combine them into a 3-way agreement between Britain, France, and Russia. It basically means like, hey, we're not going to talk trash about each other anymore. We're not going to fight for one another, but also we're going to, just kind of sit back and watch everything happen. and see what everybody else does for a change. These alliances are often secret. You don't necessarily want to like shout from the rooftop like, hey, I'm not fighting with this person anymore, because then people will try and get involved and cause problems. Sometimes those alliances were modified without others knowing what was happening. So we have the dual alliance, which was between Germany and Austria-Hungary. People knew that Germany and Austria-Hungary were a alliance, but they didn't realize that they had kind of left Russia out of it that time and formed their own special pact in case Russia came for them. Alliances can be good. They can help stop some disputes. They can keep things peaceful. However, sometimes nations use them to mobilize for war. Once you have people backing you up, you get a little bit more risky in the things that you're willing to do. If it's just you going up to somebody to talk trash and you know that person has more people backing them up, you're not going to do that. But if you go and get 5 or 6 people to stand behind you that say they'll fight for you, you get a little bit more bold in what you're willing to do. These alliances allowed countries to be more bold. This video will also be posted for you to go and watch. This one's on alliances. Third cause of World War I is imperialism. We've talked a lot about imperialism, so this is just going to be super basic. But imperialism is the practice of maintaining an empire or a collection of colonies. So going into a place, taking all this stuff to the mother country, and not paying a lot of attention or regard to the people that already live there. We talked about the scramble for Africa. European countries threw up that map on the wall, basically, and they were like, just color in the part that you want, and then that's yours. They didn't allow for Africans to be there, and the 2 newcomers, the 2 countries that had just formed, Germany and Italy, they only allowed them to take very small parts of Africa because they felt like, you're brand new, you're a new country, you can barely figure out what you're doing, why would we give you more stuff to be in charge of? All right, so France and Germany are going to have a diplomatic crisis, so a crisis between their governments. When it comes to Morocco, which is a northern portion of Africa, it was not yet considered a French colony. The Germans wanted it for themselves. The Kaiser, that German leader, travels to Morocco, where he spoke badly of the French and discussed the Germans' advanced war capabilities. The Germans didn't really want to grow its empire here, but it just wanted to cause problems between France and Britain. So Germany went down there and was like, hey, look at France. They're terrible people. They're going to come down here. They're going to cause all sorts of problems for you. But if you let us come down here, we got a really fantastic military. If anyone comes down to start problems with you, we've got your back. All this does is start some problems between France and Britain, which was their hope. This is what the imperialistic world looks like. We've talked about this before, so I'm not going to read it all out loud, but it is here in case you need to know any of this information on, say, a quiz. We've got the world divided up. It's divided up by Europeans. The people in Africa, Asia, America, Australia have no say in any of this. It's just the Europeans that are going in, taking what they want, and doing as they please. Saying that they went in and had colonies or empires is like saying that each one of these is just like a powder keg waiting for a spark to set it off into World War I. So we've basically set small bombs all over the place, And as soon as one of those bombs gets ignited, it's going to cause problems all across the globe. This video will be on teams as well. All right, last one. We're going to be under 25 minutes for the first one. All right, so nationalism is our last main cause of World War I. Nationalism is defined as extreme patriotism. Extreme. Remember, patriotism is let's have a barbecue on the 4th of July and light fireworks because, yay, we like the country we live in. Nationalism takes it further. You disagree that this is the greatest country in the world, we're not going to light fireworks. We're going to light your house on fire. And we're not going to barbecue, but we will barbecue you. Nationalism goes above and beyond. It's extreme. If you disagree with me, you don't belong here. Each of the European countries believed that they were supreme over all other countries. Their culture is better. Their economy is better. Their military is better. But there's a fatal flaw in this idea. They all believe that their military is the best. And if they go into war, they are all going to be victorious. Arrogance is a major problem with nationalism. You don't look at facts. You just believe that you are the greatest and the best because that's what people have told you. These countries are going to engage in what is known as saber rattling. A saber is a sword. Rattling it indicates their nation's strength. And it's basically just like waving that sword in somebody's face, being like, we're way better than you are. Kind of like poking the bear. It's dangerous because if you constantly believe that you are better without question, you're not checking facts, it's eventually going to cause problems for you. You're going to run across somebody who's not going to believe that you are the best at whatever you're saying you are. They're going to challenge you. And then if you aren't the best, you're going to lose. You look bad. Your arrogance got the best of you. If you live through it, you have to live with that knowledge that you weren't the best forever. And if you don't live through it, then you put a lot of people through hard times for no reason. All right, so it depends on who you ask. If you ask them who's the best, it's going to depend on who you ask. England, France, and Germany all had run-ins or brief skirmishes that were successful for them, giving this false sense of security. England believed they were the best because they fought and won. France believed they were the best because they fought and won. Germany, the best because they fought and won. Russians believed that they were the best because God protected them. So obviously if God's protecting them, there can be no problems. England had a huge navy and wasn't afraid to let everybody know it. Our navy's way bigger than yours. We'll fight you and we'll win. According to some Europeans, though, Germany was considered a cold, cruel, sneaky nation. Russians were uncultured barbarians, and the Chinese were murderous savages. These stereotypes and rumors were floating around, which helped spark that nationalism. It's a whole lot easier to hate all Germans if you believe that all Germans are cold, cruel, and sneaky. You can hate all Russians because you believe that they're uncultured, they're barbarians, they just go around and kill people. And the Chinese, if you believe that they're all murderous savages, then it's okay to hate them all because all of them kill people. None of this was true, but these were the stereotypes. The Germans had incredibly intense attitudes as well. They unified their country from a bunch of different territories, but they all felt very nationalistic at this point. They believed the British were incredibly greedy and hypocritical, so they, took everything and then they were like, I didn't do that, quit doing that. The Germans helped fund a revolt of the South African farmers against the British because they felt that the British needed to be stopped. All of these nations are basically walking around like a gorilla, thumping on their chest, saying, I'm the best. Eventually, it leads to the war. And we have this assassination of a national leader known as Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria. At this point, they don't know who to blame, so they blame everyone. Here's this video. It's going to be in the Teams app as well. That is all for our video. So please make sure that you are going through. There is a form for you to complete. It says quiz. Please make sure that you do that. It's multiple choice and short answer. It's not insanely difficult. You have access to the notes, so use them. Please make sure that you also do the To Achieve articles assigned to you this week, and you look through those Khan Academy pieces. I will be posting in Teams frequently. If you have questions and you need help, please email me, send me a message in Teams, get a hold of me. I cannot help you if you don't ask, because I cannot see that you are struggling the way I could when you're sitting in front of me. So with that, we went a little long, but there was a lot of information. So please watch the videos, do the work, and hopefully soon we will be back in the classroom and I will see your lovely shining faces. Till next week.